The morning sun cast long shadows across the pristine training grounds of Real Madrid as Cristiano Ronaldo finished his daily workout routine. Sweat glistened on his forehead as he performed his final set of free kicks, each ball finding its mark with surgical precision. As he headed toward the locker room, a young boy approached him nervously. "Sir Ronaldo," the child whispered, extending a golden envelope sealed with an ornate wax stamp. "A man asked me to give this to you. He said it was very important." Ronaldo examined the envelope curiously. The wax seal bore an unusual symbol of football surrounded by stars. Inside, elegant handwriting revealed a message that made his heart skip a beat. "The greatest player of all time challenges you to prove your worth. Tomorrow at midnight, abandoned Maracanã Stadium, Rio de Janeiro. Come alone." "Oh, Ray." Ronaldo's hands trembled slightly. "Oh, Ray" could only mean one person: Pelé, the king of football himself. But why would the Brazilian legend want to meet him in secret? 24 hours later, Ronaldo found himself on a private jet bound for Brazil. The flight felt endless as questions swirled through his mind. Was this really from Pelé? What did the aging legend want from him? And why the mysterious midnight meeting? As the plane descended through the clouds over Rio de Janeiro, the city's lights twinkled like earthbound stars. The iconic Christ the Redeemer statue stood majestically atop Corcovado Mountain, its arms outstretched as if blessing the encounter that was about to unfold. Ronaldo's taxi wound through the quiet streets of Rio, past sleeping favelas and closed beach bars. The driver, recognizing his famous passenger, attempted small talk about football, but Ronaldo remained lost in thought, his eyes fixed on the approaching silhouette of the legendary Maracanã. At exactly 11:55 p.m., Ronaldo stood before the gates of Maracanã Stadium. The massive structure loomed in the darkness like a sleeping giant. A security guard appeared from nowhere, nodded silently, and unlocked the gates with an ancient key. The stadium was eerily quiet as Ronaldo made his way through the empty corridors. His footsteps echoed off the concrete walls, creating a haunting rhythm that seemed to tell the story of countless matches played within these sacred walls. As he emerged onto the pitch, Ronaldo gasped. The field was illuminated by dozens of vintage floodlights, casting everything in a warm, golden glow. At the center circle stood a figure he recognized immediately: Pelé, looking remarkably spry for his age, juggling a football with effortless grace. "You came," Pelé said with a smile, the ball still dancing on his feet. "I wasn't sure you would accept the challenge of an old man." Ronaldo approached cautiously, his mind racing. "With respect, Pelé, what is this about? Why the secrecy?" Pelé's eyes twinkled with mischief as he finally caught the ball. "Every generation believes they have produced the greatest player ever. You, Messi, Maradona, before you, all claiming to be the best. But true greatness isn't measured in trophies or records." He gestured toward the empty stands surrounding them. "This stadium has witnessed magic that transcends statistics. Tonight, I want to see if you possess that special quality that separates legends from mere mortals: the ability to create wonder when no one is watching." Ronaldo felt a surge of competitive fire. "You want to test me? At your age?" Pelé laughed, a sound that seemed to fill the entire stadium. "Age is just a number, my friend. Football is eternal. But this isn't about age or youth, it's about pure skill, creativity, and passion." The Brazilian legend reached into a nearby bag and pulled out two more footballs. "Here's my challenge. We each have 30 minutes to create 3 moments of pure magic. No rules, no referees, no crowds, just you, me, and the beautiful game." Pelé positioned himself at the penalty spot and took a deep breath. "Watch carefully, young one," he said with a grin. With a gentle touch, he lifted the ball into the air and began an intricate display of juggling that seemed to defy physics. The ball danced from foot to knee, from shoulder to head, creating patterns in the air like a conductor's baton. Pelé moved with fluid grace, his aged body remembering every touch, every movement that had made him a legend decades ago. For his first piece of magic, Pelé flicked the ball high into the air and, as it descended, executed a perfect bicycle kick that sent it sailing into the top corner of the goal. The net rippled silently in the empty stadium, but the beauty of the moment echoed through eternity. "Bicycle kicks are impressive," Pelé said casually, "but this next one requires true artistry." He placed the ball on the ground and began a series of step-overs so quick and precise that even Ronaldo found himself mesmerized. Pelé's second display was a masterclass in ball control. He began dribbling toward an imaginary defender, his feet working in perfect harmony. The ball seemed magnetized to his boots as he wove left and right, creating space where none existed. Suddenly, he performed a move Ronaldo had never seen before, a combination of a Maradona turn and a rainbow flick that left the ball hanging in the air for what seemed like minutes. As it came down, Pelé caught it on his back and rolled it down to his heel. In my day, Pelé explained, still controlling the ball effortlessly, we didn't have slow motion replays or social media to showcase our skills. Every touch had to be perfect because it might be the only chance people had to witness true magic. With a final flourish, he flicked the ball up and volleyed it with the outside of his foot, sending it curling through the air in a perfect arc that would have beaten any goalkeeper. The ball struck the crossbar and bounced back to his feet. Now it was Ronaldo's turn. The Portuguese superstar felt the weight of expectation, even in this empty stadium. He had spent his entire career proving himself, but this felt different, more personal, more meaningful. You want to see magic? Ronaldo said, his competitive spirit ignited. He placed the ball on the halfway line and began his approach. With explosive pace, he sprinted toward the goal, the ball seeming to barely touch the ground as it stayed perfectly in stride. At the edge of the penalty area, Ronaldo performed his signature move, a series of stepovers followed by a sudden change of direction. But instead of shooting, he continued his run, leaping over imaginary sliding tackles and weaving through invisible defenders. His first moment of magic came when he reached the goal line. Instead of a simple tap-in, Ronaldo backheeled the ball high into the air, spun around, and executed a stunning overhead kick that sent the ball into the opposite corner of the net. Pelé nodded approvingly, but his eyes showed he wasn't finished. Impressive power and athleticism, he conceded, but football is also about intelligence and creativity. He positioned 3 balls in a triangle formation and stood in the center. What followed was perhaps the most extraordinary display of technical skill Ronaldo had ever witnessed. Pelé began juggling all 3 balls simultaneously, using different parts of his body for each one. One ball stayed on his feet, another bounced from knee to knee, while the third he headed continuously. The rhythm was hypnotic, a percussion of leather against skin that created a symphony only true football lovers could appreciate. After what seemed like an eternity, Pelé brought all 3 balls under control and, with 3 quick touches, sent each one into a different corner of the goal. Your turn, Pelé said simply, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. Ronaldo realized he was witnessing something beyond football. This was art, poetry and motion, the essence of why the beautiful game had captured hearts around the world. Ronaldo's second display focused on what had always been his greatest strength, the relentless pursuit of perfection. He lined up 10 balls across the penalty area and positioned himself 30 yards away. This is about precision under pressure, Ronaldo announced. Each ball represents a crucial moment in a player's career, the chances you must take when everything is on the line. He took his first shot, striking the ball with tremendous power and perfect accuracy. One by one, he struck each ball, sending them soaring into different sections of the goal. Top corner, bottom corner, right post, left post. Each shot found its mark with clinical precision. The sound of leather against net created a rhythmic applause in the silent stadium. But Ronaldo wasn't finished. For his final ball, he sprinted forward and, without breaking stride, launched himself into the air. His body extended horizontally as he met the ball with a diving header that sent it spinning into the goal with such force that it bounced back onto the field. Both legends stood breathing heavily, their shirts soaked with sweat despite the cool night air. The empty stadium seemed to hum with the energy of their performances, as if the ghosts of past matches were applauding their display. One final challenge, Pelé said, his voice carrying a note of respect that hadn't been there before. But this one is different. This is about heart, about playing for the pure joy of the game, not for glory or recognition. He pointed to the center circle. We play together, not against each other. Show me that beneath all the fame, the trophies, and the records, you still remember why you fell in love with football as a child. Ronaldo felt something shift inside him. This wasn't about competition anymore, it was about connection, about the shared language that only footballers truly understood. He nodded and joined Pelé in the center of the pitch. What followed was the most beautiful football either man had ever played. They began passing the ball between them, simple at first, but gradually increasing in complexity and creativity. Each touch was a conversation, each pass a question and answer. Pelé would flick the ball into the air with his heel, and Ronaldo would control it with his chest before returning it with a delicate lob. Ronaldo would nutmeg an imaginary defender, and Pelé would collect the ball with a rainbow flick that defied his age. They moved across the pitch like dancers, the ball their partner in an intricate ballet. Years of experience and natural talent combined to create moments of pure magic that existed only in this time and place, witnessed by no one but themselves. As they played, both men began to laugh, not the calculated laughter of public appearances, but the genuine joy of children playing in the street. The ball became secondary to the connection they were forging, legend to legend, generation to generation. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, both players came to a natural stop, the ball resting between them in the center circle. They looked at each other with new understanding, the competitive fire replaced by mutual respect. "You know," Pell said, sitting down on the grass and patting the ground beside him, "I've been watching your career for years. The goals, the records, the dedication, it's all impressive. But tonight, I saw something more important." Ronaldo sat beside the Brazilian legend, both men looking up at the Rio sky where stars twinkled between wisps of clouds. "What did you see?" Ronaldo asked, genuinely curious about the older man's perspective. "I saw a player who still loves the game," Pell replied. "Despite all the pressure, all the expectations, all the criticism, you still have that spark that made you pick up your first football. That's rarer than you might think." Pell leaned back on his elbows, his voice taking on a reflective tone. "When I was playing, the world was different. We didn't have social media, instant replays, or global television coverage. Every match wasn't dissected by millions of people, but we also didn't have the same opportunities," he continued. "The training, the nutrition, the sports science, you modern players are athletes in ways we could never imagine. Yet somehow, you've managed to keep the soul of the game alive." Ronaldo listened intently, understanding that he was receiving wisdom that couldn't be found in any coaching manual or training session. "How do you handle the pressure of being called the greatest?" Ronaldo asked. Pell chuckled. "The same way you do, I imagine. You remember that football is bigger than any individual player. We are custodians of the beautiful game, responsible for passing it on to the next generation in better condition than we found it." "Can I tell you a secret?" Pell asked, his eyes twinkling with mischief once again. "This whole evening wasn't really about testing your skills. I've watched enough of your matches to know you're exceptional." Ronaldo raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Then what was it about?" Pell stood up and brushed the grass from his clothes. "It was about giving you something no amount of money or fame can buy: a perfect night of football, played for no other reason than the joy of playing. In your career, you'll play thousands of matches. You'll score hundreds more goals. You'll win more trophies and break more records. But you'll probably never have another night quite like this one." The truth of those words hit Ronaldo like a perfectly placed free kick. This night would indeed be unique. No cameras, no crowds, no commentary, just pure football in its most elemental form. As the first hints of dawn began to color the eastern sky, both players realized their magical night was coming to an end. The stadium would soon return to its daytime role, filled with tourists and maintenance crews, losing the mystical quality that had made their encounter possible. "I have something for you," Pell said, reaching into his bag one final time. He pulled out a football, not just any football, but one that looked ancient and worn, its leather scarred by countless touches. "This ball was with me during the 1970 World Cup," Pell explained, holding it reverently. "It's been retired for decades, but I think it's time for it to see action again. Consider it a torch being passed." Ronaldo accepted the ball with the solemnity of a sacred ceremony. He could feel the history in its worn surface, the dreams and ambitions it had carried, the moments of triumph and despair it had witnessed. As the sun rose over Rio de Janeiro, two of football's greatest legends walked together toward the stadium exit. Their incredible night had ended, but its impact would last forever. Years later, when Ronaldo's playing career had ended and he found himself in the role of elder statesman, he would often think about that magical night in Maracanã. He kept Pelé's ball in a place of honor, but more importantly, he kept the lesson alive. When young players came to him seeking advice, when the pressure of modern football seemed overwhelming, when the purity of the game seemed lost in commercial concerns, Ronaldo would remember Pelé's words about playing for the joy of it. And sometimes, on quiet nights when the world was sleeping, Ronaldo would take that old ball to an empty field and juggle it under the stars, hearing Pelé's laughter echoing across time and space, reminding him that some moments of magic are meant to be shared only between legends. The beautiful game continued, as it always had and always would, carried forward by those who understood that true greatness isn't measured in statistics or trophies, but in the ability to inspire wonder in others and to never lose sight of the simple joy that comes from a ball at your feet and endless possibilities ahead.